Yer 10. İnşallah. Esselamu Aleyküm ve Rahmetullah. Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbena heb lena min ezvacina ve zurriyatina kurrete a'yunin vec'alna lilmuttaqine imama. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri vahlul ukdeten min lisani yefkahu kavli vec'al li veziran min ehli Harun ahi üşdud bihi ezri ve eşrikhu fi emri كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. Now you can take over the mic, Amy. Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning. Last week, we wrapped up with the 12th truth, and today we're going to start on a conclusion section that the author wrote to wrap up the 10th word. This is a fairly lengthy conclusion, includes several citations from the Quran, and with that, we will get started. The preceding 12 truths confirm, supplement, and support each other. Coming together in union, they demonstrate the required result. Does it lie in the capacity of any doubt to penetrate those 12 firm walls, each like steel or diamonds, in order to shake the belief in resurrection housed within their closed citadel? So the author's basically tying together all of those 12 truths into his final concluding statement, having erected, to use his language, those 12 walls, demonstrating the absolute truth of the resurrection. Your creation and resurrection is but like a single soul, indicates the following meaning. The creation and resurrection of all men is as easy for God's power as the creation and resurrection of a single man. Yes, indeed. In a treatise entitled Nokta, or Point, I explained in detail the truth expressed by this verse. Here we will indicate only a summary by means of a few comparisons. If you want more detail, then refer to Nokta. So here he goes into a series of comparisons. For example, and God's is the highest similitude, and there is no error in the comparison. If the manifestation of the sun were in accordance with its own will, it could be said that the sun bestows its mystery of manifestation on numerous transparent objects with the same ease as on a single particle. So here the author's going through these comparisons, just demonstrating that these notions of great and small, many, individual, those are really just qualifiers that we use here in our worldly existence, and they do not apply to the hereafter or to the divine. Like the sun, it can shine on one thing and just as easily illuminate the entire earth. And that's similar to God's power. And further, he says, in accordance with the mystery of transparency, the little pupil of a transparent particle is equal to the vast face of the ocean in receiving the reflection of the sun. In accordance with the mystery of order, it overturns a huge battleship with the same ease as a child turning over his toy boat with his finger. I thought that was an especially evocative comparison. In accordance with the mystery of obedience, It causes a vast army to move with the same word that a commander uses to make a single infantryman move. Any thoughts or observations so far about these comparisons and how the author is using them? In accordance with the mystery of equilibrium, let us imagine there to exist in space a balance so sensitive and at the same time so large that were two walnuts to be placed in its pans, it would feel them and be equally able to hold and to weigh two suns. If two suns of equal weight were placed in the pans of the scale, the same power, which causes one of the walnuts to be lifted up to the heavens and the other walnut to descend to the ground, will move these heavenly bodies with the same ease. And then here he spells it out very clearly, since in this lowly, deficient, and transient world of contingency, the greatest and smallest things are equal, and numerous infinite things appear equal to a single thing. Through the mystery of luminosity, transparency, order, obedience, and balance, then of a certainty little and much, small and great, will be equal in the sight of the possessor of absolute power. And he will be able to summon all men to resurrection with a single blast on the trumpet, just as if they were one man. This by virtue of the mysteries of the luminous manifestations of the infinite and utterly perfect power of his essence. The transparency of the inner dimension of things, the order decreed by wisdom and destiny, the complete obedience of all things to his creational commands, and the equilibrium existing in contingent being that consists of the equivalence of the being and non-being of the contingent. So that was a long sentence and part of a larger paragraph, so let's pause there. So here he really explains the point that he's making with the four brief comparisons he made just prior to this longer paragraph. And he's using the image of a scale that exists somewhere and is just as easily weighs two walnuts as it would two suns.
Excuse me, Annie,
Yes.
if I jump in.
Yes, please.
Why do we think that the author is talking about these mysteries? Mystery means that you cannot, normally we understand. It is a mystery, means I cannot really understand. But in this section, mystery means because of this very delicate principles that we can experience in the order of the universe, in this existence, it tells us, let us realize that the creation of this universe has such enormous, very wondrous principles that demonstrates the quality of its maker. He or it, the creator, is unimaginable, doing unimaginable things. So from there we can go, what does it mean, all this talking about this? God is the highest similitude. First of all, this verse, which is 1660, section 16, verse 60, this verse says, look, you will see examples here, similitudes here, similes here in the creation. By using these principles of the order, you can understand which kind of qualities that the creator has. Okay, that's understandable. But when you apply these qualities manifested in the universe to your life, to your understanding, and apply it, first of all, understand what is going on here. For example, the mystery of transparency, we can talk about it, the mystery of order, the mystery of obedience, mystery of equilibrium. This kind of principles, which are observed everywhere in the universe, if you say, oh, these are wonderful ways of creating, fine. So let me understand the quality of the creator. And the verse comes in and says, look, while you are applying the manifested qualities in the universe to God's qualities in order to understand his qualities belonging to him, though he is always the highest, which means you cannot get really what they are, what the qualities of God is like. This is only the source, this is the source of the manifested forms of these qualities. So when we see any wonderful creation, let's have a very simple example. For example, a bird is going early morning and getting some food. Maybe it herself is hungry, but brings the food and feeds her baby by flying in the air, and the baby knows what is going on, opens its beak, and the mother bird puts every food that she gathered from here and there, and the baby is fed. Who's arranging this? Which matter can be the source of this compassion of an animal, which is unimaginable? Now, you say, now, the creator who created this bird with this compassion, he is also compassionate. Now, what we have done here, we have likened this to God.
Right. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah.
Yes, I am confused about similitude being used, because a similitude is when you're comparing two things. Yet when I go through the process of looking at the world around me, it leads me to something being in control. And it seems as if there's really there's not two things to compare. Perhaps my own perception or misperception and how things really are. But it doesn't, but beyond that, the more I go through the process of witnessing the creation, I see that everything belongs to the one who's in control. And I don't see what there is. There's no comparison. And then that's what I also experience in my observations of what I see as order And also this example of comparing sizes and quantities and how they're equally sustained both from the galactic level down to the cellular level. They're both sophisticated processes being maintained with sophisticated processes. And then, and I realized that like this, that the power that's sustaining the creation around me is not like myself, like is able to do things in a way that is immeasurable from my own perception. I guess that gets me to like laws is the highest similitude, but I still don't understand why the word similitude is used, unless it just basically gets me to the point where I say, there is no comparison. There is nothing to compare.
No, we are not comparing. Here, similitude is not comparison. But if we are not careful, we may be doing comparisons. But if we try to understand the manifested qualities in the universe and try to use these qualities in order to understand God and conclude that God is the source of this compassion in the example I gave, or any example you can take from this universe, God, and then if you want to, if you try to, of course, the verse says, nothing is like him, but practically speaking, this is what verse says, then how can I confirm it? No, nothing is like him. What do you mean that? It means you cannot make comparison by saying that this is, let's say, the solar system is really very big, but God is big, but bigger than the solar system. Look, this is the comparison. You cannot do that, the verse says. And why I cannot do it? This verse that we are studying today comes into and says all kinds of similitudes. Yeah, let me see somebody, Shahrani said, the quality or state of being similar to something. Now, all kinds of similitudes, it means if you compare the quality of mercifulness or compassionateness and try to understand that God's compassion is bigger, very, universe-wide, let's say. No, still similitude is not valid. You cannot imagine the absolute being. You cannot imagine. Now, the comparison is, this is bigger than this. This is bigger than this. But when you use the qualities that we see in this universe and try to understand God with these qualities, so his qualities is something like this that we see here in the, for example, behavior of a bird. And the verse says, no, it's not like this. He is the creator of this event, manifesting his quality, but you cannot imagine at all. However, you try to imagine the qualities of God, you cannot. You cannot. Why? By definition, the source of existence of these qualities cannot be of the same kind, so that you can enlarge in the understanding of compassionateness, for example, and his compassionateness. So you have to say only as the Quran says, La ilaha illallah. How? How do we apply it to this verse? The compassion that I see, I observe in the life of a bird towards its baby, it is young, I say, I may say, this is the manifested form of the quality of God in the existence of the bird. Let me take another example, our typical example, which helps us a lot to understand. When I see the quality manifested, art quality manifested in the piece of an art, can I say at all, is it possible the artist's quality is like this? Impossible. Artist's quality cannot be describable within the conditions of his art, but the quality of art witnesses is a sign to the quality of the artist. But we cannot imagine the quality of artist, which kind of quality of art this artist has. Impossible to imagine. That is what this verse is saying. That is why we will see here, for example, the mystery of transparency. Now, for example, air reflecting a bright object reflects the quality of the sunlight, right? So because of the quality of the bright, or how do you say this? And bright, so reflects like a mirror. I couldn't remember any word for it. Like a mirror, reflects if the light hits it. So this mystery shows that, or demonstrates that, we can understand from here. Look, everything is created at the same time. How it happens? Oh, the mystery of transparency is an evidence here. Look, there is a principle in the creation of the universe, which is the sun is one sun, but it reflects its light on everything. You can see its light at the same time manifesting itself on everything. No, you see, the one who created the universe on this principle can also, or is also demonstrating that, look, you can understand by using this analogy of the sun and its reflection on the bright stuff, yes, this manifestation of the quality of the sun on it, you can imagine, you can make sense of it, not that you will liken it to God. No, that God is like the sun. No. You can make sense of that, God, how God creates this universe using this example of the sun and on its reflection of its light. You can use this example and understand that one sun reflects its light on everything at the same time. That is how this mystery is. No, you cannot explain how it happened here, but it is created in this way. It cannot happen by itself. So the one who is creating the universe in this way, demonstrating that you can understand how God, you can make sense of. Yeah, if God, the creator of this system, of the order, must be able to create everything, although he is a single being, but he creates everything at the same time possible. It just helped me understand how I can confirm it, how I can say, yeah, God can also do this, but we have to be very careful. There is no similitude. He is always whatever you can imagine beyond it. Oh, yeah, God is like sun. No. He is just demonstrating for me to understand that he can manifest his qualities at the same time on everything with no confusion. That is the help for me. I shouldn't say that God is like sun emitting light, and this light is the creation, light of creation, and creating everything. No, you cannot do that. That is what I understood, the difference between ليس كمثله شيء ولله المثل الأعلى. ليس كمثله شيء what Shahrani was talking about. We cannot liken him to anything of this universe. God is like galaxies. God is like the whole universe. No. You cannot do that. That is one aspect of the matter which is really correct.
Assalamu alaikum. I definitely appreciate the message because I know that human beings have a tendency to want to know God as in not knowing him in terms of a relationship, but putting him in a box and saying that I have a complete understanding of who the creator is. And this is, I know, very, very dangerous and probably a form of like each of us staying in control as opposed to letting it be, confirming that, no, we are not in control. We are simply here witnessing. And so I definitely appreciate this message, and I can see that inside of myself, and know that that needs constant reflection of never, even, you know, as we're working on witnessing the attributes, we are never claiming to have completely grasped it or, you know, totally contained it. At the same time, I do find within myself a feeling that says I want an authentic, real relationship with my creator. And I want to really experience the attributes. Sometimes when I hear it's just the reflection of his attributes that you're witnessing, it can feel a bit distant, as if it's not a true experience of the attributes. And that goes against, I guess, something that I truly want, which is an authentic, real experience of being sustained with all of his attributes. Please tell me if that made sense. So if not, I can try to re-explain.
I really appreciate your effort to understand how I can communicate with God. It means how I can present my worship to him, so I can feel his presence in my existence. I really appreciate this effort. It is really very, very important matter that we have to deal with. What is confusing here in the Muslim world, as well as other religious traditions? We try to communicate with God as if he is at our level of existence. our stage of existence. We should forget about it. It is impossible. Quran emphatically tells us, and also human nature emphatically confirms it, that we can only have an communication with the Creator through La ilaha illa hu. That is the revolution brought to us after becoming ambiguous, confused of the previous revelations, after they are really somehow meddled up with a human hand, messed up with human hand, trying to apply it to their own understanding, human beings' own capacity. So the originality of the language of the revelation has got lost. It must be so because Quran comes, although Quran says God and Bible says God, Hebrew Bible says God, the Torah says God, and many other traditions say God, but Quran says they are corrupt. They have lost track of really thinking in a right way. Why? Because he says, La ilaha illallah. Everywhere we can only communicate with God through La ilaha illahu. What is the significance of it? We cannot see the presence of God without rejecting other options. La ilaha. This is not the soul. This is not that I am worshiping. Now let us come to the bird example, because I have seen something. I was amazed, shocked. How can it be explained at all? Bird is feeding its young for no reason. Why? Human beings also, but human beings make sense of it. This poor guy needs it. But animal, I don't know what he feels, but I can only say, look, it is feeding its young, but it must have a compassion. It must have a compassion. I say, yeah, but how can it have a compassion? It's an animal. It is just matter, and it is made of matter, and it doesn't have consciousness, and the metal never has any quality at all other than how it is created, and they are slaves of the order of the universe. They cannot have an option, anything. But however they are created, they exist in this way, nothing more, nothing less. I hate to say, I can see the manifestations, reflections of compassion in the existence of the bird, but the bird cannot be the source of its existence. So the one which is illahu, except he. That is very important to understand now the relationship with God. Except he, the one which I cannot comprehend his existence, but definitely he must exist. The one who is manifesting his compassion in the body or existence of the bird in order to let me understand which kind of creator of this bird is. So I have to have first attitude. For example, when you want to do something nice action, you say, or I say, it is good to do it, so I will do it. When I do it, I say, I'm a good man. I did something right. My feeling says, you did something right, and approves it and encourages me. That's how I am created. But for example, any good action, maybe out of mercy, the mercy doesn't belong to me. So we can only say the mercy in my behavior, the compassion in the behavior of the bird do not belong to them. There must be a source of existence, and this must be source of existence is incomprehensible. I am communicating with the one who is incomprehensible, but I am absolutely sure of his existence. Without his existence, none of the parts of this universe can be the creator, source of existence of these qualities. Now, we have to establish our relationship with God through experiencing the manifestations of his qualities, but discarding it. You say denying maybe, but it's not the right word. There was a good word for it. I couldn't remember. Okay, I cannot remember. If I remember, I will tell you. Oh, negation. By negating the bird and me, the source of our qualities, and attributing it to the incomprehensible one. That is why if I try to say, oh God, what do I mean? I have to say, what I mean by God, none of the things here, none of the owners of or the qualities which are manifested in those things that belongs to them. These are all to God, and I confirm him. This is summarized in the Quran, yu'minuna bil ghaib. We mentioned this topic on many occasions in these studies, Hamim studies, discussions. We cannot really try to communicate with God as if something me and something else here is speaking to him. For example, Iyaka na'budu. Only you we worship. So what do I mean by you? Who is it? My conclusion that none of the things, parts of this universe can be the source of qualities of this, the qualities manifested in the universe can be the source of the existence of this universe. Anything but the one who gave existence to it. I cannot imagine. That is why when I say the communication should go through observable la ilaha and end up with unobservable, incomprehensible illahu. So incomprehensible illahu, the emphasis on it is extremely important. Of course, to start with, la ilaha is also equally important. Without la ilaha, you cannot conclude, no one can conclude and reach illallah, but without la ilaha, illallah, saying la ilaha has no point. This combination of the Quran is unique. It is teaching. We have to benefit from it. We have to pay attention to it. We have to pay attention to it. It is extremely important. That is why people tend to make images. Why? Why do they need to make images of
saints or Jesus or other Buddha, etc. Because the weakness of human being here they need to, or they feel that they need to symbolize this creator. Now, incomprehensible cannot be symbolized. That is what they are missing here is La ilaha. My relationship with God is based on concrete, observable, confirmable La ilaha. And my conclusion is my understanding that the universe must have a creator. That is belief in ghaib. That is why we have to communicate with God and we have to worship in God in ghaib, unseen. Yeah, I mean, translated as unknowable. I mean, you have to use a word in English, but unseen, unknowable, these are not really right translations at all. But only say, I believe the one, in the existence of the one who gave existence to the universe, who created the universe. That is why I say all the people, especially in Islamic tradition, lots of people wondered about it, especially, of course, this, traditional scholarship, take the Quran and talk about what the Quran says and how we should understand it without bringing proof or evidence for it. That is their way of thinking. This is also valuable, but the scholars of which is called Tasawwuf, it is roughly said Sufi tradition. Unfortunately, nowadays, I have not seen any really scholar in Sufi tradition, but the ancient ones, yes, we appreciate them. They try to understand this mystery, if you like. How can I communicate with ghaib? With ghaib, we have to be careful. How can I communicate with ghaib? We have to be, that was their concern. That is why they try to see whether I can really experience this through this way, visualize it through this way, and that way. But when we see Nursi, Nursi is my favorite, we are reading his book here. This person says, don't try to visualize it. God is the highest similitude. Just use your conclusion and understand by, for example, I am standing in my prayer. No, I'm really speaking a lot, I know. But this matter, the Shahrani family brought it up, is very important. I am standing in front of God. Let's say God. What am I saying? Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Oh, the creator, source of existence of my being, the universe I'm experiencing, all the qualities are nothing but your manifestation. I can see the manifested qualities, but I cannot imagine you. Similitude. No similitude is possible. Whatever we can see is beyond, unreachable. So belief in God when necessitates, as the Quran itself says, worship me. How can I worship you? You have to worship me with the realization that you are worshiping in an absolute creator in ghaib. According to you, ghaib. According to you, your capacity, he is ghaib. Unfortunately, this need of visualization brought many people out of this understanding, of course, doing some funny things, or the source of this making figures in order to bring this into a symbol. That's why in Islam, the Muslim scholars have always been very attentive to this point. Never, ever use figure in your life, in your relationship with God, the angels, the prophet, the revelation, and also ascension. So these miniatures demonstrating Miraj, and a handsome man riding on a something strange, not the horse, something but looks like four-legged horse, and flying with the wing. But this is nothing but confusion. I wouldn't say these people had bad intention, but it is just not understanding that this kind of ghaibi events, ghaibi existence, which belong to ghaib, ghaibi, which belong to ghaib, cannot be visualized. So don't try to visualize it. This is my conclusion. When I look at my machine, can I comfortably confirm that this machine has an engineer? Yeah, of course. Have I seen it? No. Shall I put a figure of it in front of me? No. But I am absolutely sure this is called belief in ghaib under the guarantee of witnessing his manifestation of his qualities. I think, hopefully, that is what I can only explain this matter, which is not emphasized in Muslim culture. In other religious traditions also, they don't mention this kind of thing at all, almost at all. So just what I understood from my understanding studies, very simple, never ever think of that I'm communicating with God. No, I am communicating with my creator who is unimaginable, cannot be put into a figure, and I cannot make any similitude. I cannot make any comparison because it is my understanding. I'm absolutely sure. How can I know for example, gender of the maker of my computer? How can I know it? Can I visualize it? No, impossible. But definitely there is an engineer. I have no doubt about it. That is belief in ghaib. Rational, emotional, in my spirit, firm confirmation, conclusion. I'm satisfied with it. That is why mu'min, the believers, are described in the Quran, muqinun. They have their own certainty about their conclusions. Conclusions are ghaibi as far as the source of existence is concerned. That is why we have to be very careful, all of us, originator of this universe, source of existence of this universe. This kind of terminology are used in this class more than the concept of God himself, this name itself. Why? Source of existence, the creator, all these, we use the qualities which are, these qualities are our conclusions. I am always very careful and sensitive using God directly and saying that God says this, God asks this. I am always obeying this kind of rhetoric because as if God, something that I can comprehend within this universe. Somewhere there, for example, speaking about my father did this, my father can do this, my father feeds me. That is why all the language or the confusion of the language, which are really dirtying the minds of the people, saying, oh God, I am outside in a place because I am not at home. So I cannot stop that. I'm sorry for this. So this kind of language brought some people God the Father. Ah, God the Father. Why? Still needs to visualize it within the limitations of this universe. Because Father takes care of the child, so Father took care of somebody. God took care of somebody. God is God the Father. What are you doing? It is similitude is completely, comparison is completely wrong. Let's put it in a simple way. Wrong, not natural human nature. I cannot compare God. Thank you very much. I think all the mysteries here, mystery of transparency, mystery of order, mystery of obedience, mystery of manifestations, these kind of mysteries must be understood within the context of what we have been studying. Thank you very much for your patience. I spoke a lot, I know, I'm sorry.
I still have just one thing that I might be confusing and misinterpreting from what you said, which is that we do get to the point in our salat where we move to the first person. Even though we recognize we cannot see him or understand him, or understand what is sustaining us, we cannot see what is sustaining us, but we do get to that point where we're in presence. And isn't that what we're seeking? That that first person presence, even as we admit to and surrender to our complete inability to comprehend.
Yeah, but we have to be aware that yes, of course, we have to declare our inability to comprehend him, but we have to present our worship. We have to present our worship, the sense of worship, with this conclusion. Yeah, for example, when we are talking about the engineer of this mission. Oh my God, I'm sorry for this, but that's the only way I can deal with now. I cannot avoid it. So we can, what I was saying, we understand that now, talking about the computer and its engineer. When I keep speaking to you, the computer is made by an engineer who knows that human beings are going to use this machine. You know, the one the engineer who designed this machine in order to make it very practical and also answer the expectations of the users. I'm talking about the engineer. I'm talking about the engineer. But I'm not referring to inequality of the engineer. I'm just saying, whatever the qualities I can see on the machine, I am just not attributing these qualities to the material.
You muted yourself, Brother Ali.
Oh, how long was it? Yeah, I'm not talking about these qualities as belonging to the machine, but I am speaking about the qualities of the engineer, but never ever imagine the quality of engineer. I am just observing the manifested qualities of the engineer in the body, in the existence, of the computer. That is why I have to look at the machine. Whatever attracts my attention, I attribute it to the engineer that I cannot imagine. But are we sure? Definitely, absolutely, I am sure. Definitely, absolutely, I am sure. I don't know whether I could, a little bit maybe help.
Yes, there's no way that I know that engineer's IQ. I don't know what he looks like. I don't know, where this engineer is coming from, what where he's going to, how he even made the computer. All I can say is that this computer is very sophisticated and useful and purposeful and must have had a creator.
Must have an engineer, a conscious engineer, aware engineer, knows that human beings are going to create it. But we are just talking about his qualities or her qualities. Sorry, we didn't have to give you opportunity to express your understanding, but depends on what you feel, how you feel it. Please take over the mic.
Oh, thank you. No need to apologize at all. I thought this was fantastic. I really enjoy it when we get a good discussion going. We are just about out of time, and this next paragraph seems rather substantial. Would it be best if we pause here, or do you want me to continue?
I think we covered the text, the content of this text, so we can read and come to the conclusion of this section.
Okay. Furthermore, the degrees of strength and weakness that a thing possesses are determined by the intervention in that thing of its opposite. For example, degrees of heat are determined by the intervention of cold, degrees of beauty by the intervention of ugliness, stages of light by the intervention of darkness. But if something exists of itself and is not accidental, then its opposite cannot interfere with it. For then a union of opposites would logically have to occur, and that is impossible. In something that exists of itself, there can then be no gradation. Now, the power of the possessor of absolute power pertains to his essence. It enjoys absolute perfection and is not accidental like contingent being. It is therefore impossible that its opposite, impotence, should intervene in it. Hence, it is as easy for the Lord of glory to create a spring as it is to create a flower. But if creation were ascribed to causality, then the creation of a single flower would be as difficult as that of a whole spring. For God, it is as easy to resurrect and gather all men as it is to resurrect and gather one man. Do you want me to continue? We've got this next paragraph leads into a lengthy series of citations from the Quran. Shall I continue, or do we want to pause here?
No, I think it is better to hear the verses, just get a general idea.
Okay. All that we have expounded so far with regard to resurrection, the comparisons indicating it and its truth, is derived from the effulgence of the all-wise Quran. Its sole purpose has been bringing the soul to surrender and the heart to acceptance. It is to the Quran that the right to speak belongs. It is true speech, and all speech is subordinate to it. Let us listen then to the Quran. Say, with God is the agreement that reaches home. If it had been his will, he could indeed have guided you all. Look upon the signs of God's mercy and see how he restores life to the earth after its death. Verily he it is who shall bring to life the dead, and he is powerful over all things. And he makes comparisons for us and forgets his own origin and creation. He says, who can give life to dry bones and be composed ones at that? O mankind, fear your Lord, for the convulsion of the hour of judgment will be a thing terrible. The day ye shall see it, every mother giving suck shall forget her suckling babe, and every pregnant female shall drop her load unformed. Thou shalt see mankind as in a drunken riot, yet not drunk. But dreadful will be the wrath of God. God, there is no God but he. Of a surety he will gather you together against the day of judgment, about which there is no doubt, and whose word can be truer than God's. As for the righteous, they will be in bliss, and the wicked, they will be in the fire. When the earth is shaken to her utmost convulsion, and the earth throws up her burdens from within, and man cries distressed, what is the matter with her? On that day will she declare her tidings. For that thy Lord will have given her inspiration. On that day will men proceed in companies sorted out to be shown the deeds that they had done. Then shall anyone who has done an atom's weight of good see it, and anyone who has done an atom's weight of evil shall see it. The day of noise and clamor. What is the day of noise and clamor? And what will explain to thee what the day of noise and clamor is? It is a day whereon men will be like moths scattered about, and the mountains will be like carded wool. Then he whose balance of good deeds will be found heavy will be in a life of good pleasure and satisfaction. But he whose balance of good deeds will be found light will have his home in a bottomless pit. And what will explain to thee what this is? It is a fire blazing fiercely. To God belongs the mystery of the heavens and the earth, and the decision of the hour is as the twinkling of an eye or even quicker. For God has power over all things. Listening to these and other clear verses of the Quran, let us say, yes, we believe and give our assent. And then here he closes with
I mean, are there many more related to this section? How many paragraphs?
several. Well, this is all that I...
Living God as angel books. Okay. It is, maybe it is late or however you feel it. Now, maybe we can read until the paragraph which says, oh, brother, studying this treatise with an open mind, do not say. That is another subject. So let's read 2 more paragraphs and see what is saying.
Okay. I believe in God, his angels, his books, his messengers, and in the last day. I believe that both the good and evil of destiny are from God Almighty, that resurrection after death is a reality, that paradise is a reality, that hellfire is a reality, that intercession is a reality, that Munkar and Nakir are reality, and that God will resurrect those who are in the tombs. I bear witness that there is no God but God, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God. O God, grant blessings to the most delicate, the most noble, the most perfect, the most beautiful fruit of the tuba of your mercy, him whom you sent as a mercy to all the worlds, and as a means for our attaining unto the most beauteous, the fairest, purest, and most exalted of the fruits of that tuba, the branches of which are outspread over the hereafter in paradise. O God, protect us and our parents against the fire, and cause us and our parents to enter paradise with the pious, for the sake of thy chosen prophet. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. What we are seeing here, after studying, I don't know, 20, 30 pages about resurrection, the necessity of the existence of hereafter, Mostly the author brought evidence from the creation and said conclusions. How did he do it? Now, by quoting, citing all these verses, saying that, look, I have studied these verses, I have learned the method of understanding resurrection under the guidance, under the light of these verses. That is how I understood and concluded, and now presenting to you in the previous text. If you remember, he was giving lots of examples from creation, very rarely from time to time referring to the verses, but here mentioning all these verses, that these verses were the base of his thinking, his method of thinking, and how to analyze this within the universe as we are a part of the universe, and concluding and coming to the conclusion that definitely there must be a creator, and definitely there must be a hereafter. And this is my conclusion about ghaib, Definitely there must be a prophet and message from this creator. This creator definitely speaks. And also one thing, this creator must have appoint a messenger which demonstrates this message in his practical life as a living human being. These conclusions are based on the principles that the author has driven from these verses. That is something different than what we are usually accustomed with. That's why we have to pay attention to this point, because usually people bring a verse and bases their argument what the verse said, and say, look, God says this, it must be so. But this author follows La ilaha illallah, this very, very essence of the teachings of the Quran. I have to look at the universe and see La ilaha is correct or not, and then conclude illallah. When I concluded, I say, oh, of course, this verse says there must be there is a resurrection. God promises me in this speech that I will recreate you, resurrect you, and definitely take into account what you have learned, what you have done, what you have really practiced in your life. And then the author says, look at this word or saying, all confirming what this verse says it. Of course, we have to work in both ways. How? Both ways. First, look at the universe, come to the conclusion that this universe must have a creator, and this creator must give instructions to us how to make sense of the existence of this universe. Okay, now this is our conclusion. And look for the instruction, we find revelation and the prophets saying that, look, in a practical terms, God asked me to convey this message to you, and I am conveying it. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not the source of it. I am not a philosopher. I am not a knowledgeable man. I am not a scholar at all. But this is what God told me. This is what God educated me to practice it in a human form. I said, oh, let me listen to it. But after going through La ilaha, we have to say, look, oh yeah, the universe must be something, I don't know, what is that? But I cannot explain the universe within its own terms, within its own conditions. It is impossible. And the prophet comes and Mr. suggests, yes, this universe cannot be its own source of existence. Yeah, that's what my conclusion. There must be a being which is beyond imagination, incomprehensible being. Oh, that is why the products witness its qualities. I said, oh yeah, I didn't know how to conclude illahu. Yeah, all this message comes from the Creator in order to give us guidance to reach believing in ghaib. I said, oh yeah. I think I'm sure now you are telling me the truth. And then follow this man, the prophets, and see in their life, yes, they submit their life completely to this being or serving this being. Means really trying to convey the message to the people that God really is a ghaib ghaibi being, but definitely he exists. That is how we should really practice in our life. That is what I understood why he at the end cited the verses that he benefited from, how to construct this method of reasoning. That's beautiful. We have to take lesson of it. Thank you very much. I think time is really up, but alhamdulillah, I enjoyed the discussion. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim.